Hello class 9, good morning. Today we will continue the topic Later Vedic Civilization. Main objectives: political life in the later Vedic age, social life in the later Vedic age, economic life during the later Vedic period, religious life during the later Vedic period, differences between the Rig Vedic and later Vedic civilization. Before the discussion of topic, we must know the following terms. Expostulation means to reason with someone against something, to tell drawbacks of the task which person intends to do or has done. The Ashwamedh Yajna, horse sacrifice ritual followed by ancient Indian king to prove their imperial sovereignty. Subjugation, the action of bringing someone or something under domination or control. Feudal vassals, a person is granted a land to use in return for rendering the military services. Invasion, an instance of invading a country or region with armed forces. Dispense, distribute or provide a service or information to a number of people. Embark, go on board a ship or aircraft, or to go on board a vehicle for transportation. Transformation, a marked change in form, nature, or appearance. Children, today we will discuss the topic the later Vedic civilization. As you know, the period between 1000 BCE to 600 BCE is known as the period of later Vedic age. The sources of the period includes all the Vedas like Rig Veda, Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharvaveda and Vedic literature. Children, as you know, Rig Veda is related with the first testament of mankind. Samveda is related with the sweet songs in praise of God. Yajurveda related with the yajnas. The Atharvaveda related with the charms and spells and medicines. Moreover, Ramayana and Mahabharata, the great epics which provide the most reliable account about the period. The two epics have greatly influenced the Hindu society. Moreover, this period is considered to be the period of compositions of the three later Vedas, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvaveda. Now let's come to the reading part. Later Vedic civilization, page number 107. The period between 1000 BCE to 600 BCE is known as the later Vedic period. The sources of this period are quite vast and include all the Vedas and the Vedic literature except Rig Veda. As you know, Rig Veda is the first testament of mankind. The other Vedas like Yajurveda, the Samveda, the Atharvaveda and other literary literatures are the Brahmanas, Arankyas, the Upanishads and Sutras, the Purans and Ramayana and Mahabharata. They all are the literary source of the Vedic period. The Ramayana and Mahabharata were also called great epics, which provide the most reliable account about the period. The reason is that the Vedic literature and Upanishads contain such noble and intricate expostulation of the knowledge that they cannot be easily used for construction the history of this period. Expostulation means to tell the drawbacks of the work which has been done or supposed to be done. These two epics, which epics? Ramayana and Mahabharata, have greatly influenced the Hindu society since ages long ago. Today we also have the belief in the two great epics, that is Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Very important to know, as Valmiki wrote Ramayana and Ved Vyas wrote Mahabharata. As the Ramayana detail is a more advanced stage of civilization, now we will discuss the political life in the later Vedic age. The Aryan moved eastward and some of the chieftains carved out the kingdoms called Janpadas. By this time, political life in the later Vedic age of the Aryan has spread to the inner parts of India. Generally, they had occupied the whole of northern India. Small tribal states had vanished and their place the new empires of Kurus, Panchal, Kosala, Magh, Kashi, Anga, etc. had come into being. Powers of king was increased. With the powers of king, number of officials also increased. There was a change in the mode of warfare. Now king kept standing army composed of people other than Kshatriyas so as to embark upon the new conquest. New weapons began to be used in the war. Now let's come to the reading part. Political life in the later Vedic age. Number 1. Spread of Aryans. By this time, the Aryan had spread to the inner part of India. Generally, they had occupied the whole of northern India. It means they start spreading in the inner part of India. Mostly the northern India was occupied by them. Number 2 is powerful empires. Small tribal states and vanished and their place the new powerful empires of Kuru. Children, it's not Kulu, it's Kuru. Panchal, Kosala, Magh, Kashi, Anga, etc. had come into being. Such of king has conquered their other territories. It means the big powerful empire has been established in place of the small tribal states. The new powerful empires of Kuru, Panchal, Kosala, Magh, Kashi, Anga, etc. have established and performed the Ashwamedh Yajna for bringing them under the subjugation and assumed the title of Samrat or Emperor. The states had expanded both in their territories and powers. To bring the territories under their controls, most of the kings started to perform the Ashwamedh Yajnas. There is one saying by Anand Ghosh for the Samrats. The title of Samrat was claimed by those rulers who could bring under subjugation a number of smaller rulers called merely Rajans. The assumption of title of Samrat was usually emphasized by the performance of the Raja Suya or Ashwamedh Yajna. These are the two ceremonies they have to perform to bring the other territories under their controls. The dependent kings generally attended these ceremonies as a feudal vassal and helped the Samrat in the wars. The title of Samrat or the Emperor was given to the person who claimed by those rulers who could bring under the subjugation, means under their control, a number of smaller rulers. Increased power of kings. The expansion of the territorial limits of the different empires had also increased the powers of king considerably. Now the king no longer recognized the authority of the Sabha or the Samiti. The kingship has become purely hereditary. Hapkins says that in this time both the priest and the people found themselves helpless before the king. Nevertheless, the king even now looked after the welfare of his people. His chief duty, as before, was to keep the peace in the kingdom and to protect the people against the foreign invasions, to punish the wrongdoers and dispense with justice. It means the king's role was restricted to the battle strategy. In every other decision, the Sabha or the elder or the Samiti of the council of men took the decision. While the king's son didn't inherit the throne, the new king had to have the approval of the Sabha and Samiti. Moreover, in the later Vedic period, the king became the absolute ruler, being both the supreme commander of the army and the chief justice. More state officials to assist with the formation of the wider kingdom and the assumption of the greater powers by the king. The number of his officials also increased. During the Rig Vedic period, the king was assisted by the Prohits, commander-in-chief and Gramini, etc. But now there was a large army of the new officials such as treasurers, the personal attendant, the chief justice, the prison officers, etc. Many new officials had been inducted to carry out the royal duties. It means the number of the members or the council of ministers has been increased to assist king. As you know, during the early Vedic period, means during the Rig Vedic period, king was assisted by the Prohit, means priest, commander-in-chief and Gramini, etc. But now the member has been increased to assist king. Personal attendant, chief justice and prison officer and many other officers also increased who were helping the kings during his duties. Now, change in the mode of warfare. The art of warfare had also undergone some minor changes. The king kept standing armies composed of people other than the Kshatriyas. As to embark upon the new conquest, new weapons began to be used in the war. It means the methods of the warfare has been changed. Minor changes has been brought in the system of warfare. The king started to keep the armies, standing armies composed of the people other than the Kshatriyas, because Kshatriyas were considered as the strong persons who were specially for the army. New weapons were also introduced for the war. Now, social life in the later Vedic period. By this time, the status of women has decreased as compared to their status in the Rig Vedic period. They had lost their position both in religious and social fields. The priests were honored, but the parts of the state has fully passed in the hands of the kings. The caste system had become more rigid. No nobility has degenerated. Polygamy was frequent evil among them. Polygamy means the system of having more than one wife at a time. There was not much changes in the living habits, food and clothing of the common men. They lived in small towns. Agriculture was their mainstay, means main occupation. Let's come to the reading part. Social life in later Vedic period. Number one, changes in the status of women. By this time, the status of women has degraded as compared to their status in Rig Vedic period. They had lost their position in both the religious and the social fields. They were prohibited from actively participating in affairs of the state. The king and the nobles now began to keep the several wives. That system is known as the system of polygamy. Birth of daughter was regarded as an unfortunate event. Nevertheless, they were honored in the society. The princes were allowed to choose their own husbands. There was yet no such things as clear marriage, the parda system and the sati system. Women has lost their positions in the later Vedic period as compared to early Vedic period. Women were not allowed to take active part in the political affairs. Moreover, system of polygamy has become common among the kings and the nobles. They started to keep more than one wife at a time. Only the princes were allowed to choose their husband. But even then, the early marriage, the parda system and sati system was not prevalent. Importance of Kshatriyas. The priests were honored, but the power of the state has fully passed into the hands of the kings, who belonged to Kshatriya class. Now the center of power was not the priest, but the king. In the later Vedic period, the Kshatriya family got very eminent positions in the society. The power of the state has fully passed into the hands of the kings who belong to Kshatriya class. Moreover, priests were honored, but power was not given to them. They were just helping to king. Rigidity of caste system. The caste system had become more rigid. Transformation from one caste to another had become of difficult. Community lunch and the intermarriages had caused to exist. Multiple caste system had replaced the simple system of varnas. It means caste system have become more complex with subcaste. It became hereditary and rigid with oppression of the lower castes. Moral degenerations of the nobles. The nobility has degenerated. Polygamy, a frequent evil among the gambling and drinking, had taken firm roots. Killing enemies by the deceit was a common practice. It means many of the wrong activities has taken place in the society during later Vedic period, like polygamy, gambling, drinking, and killing the enemies by cheating. Stagnant life of the common man. Stagnant means static life. There was no much changes in the living habits, food and clothing of the common men. They lived in small towns. Agriculture was their mainstay, means main occupation. Men's life was divided into the four parts called ashrams. Means there was not much change in the common man's life. Means they were leading the static life, the life without any change. They were living in the small towns. Moreover, their agriculture was their main occupation. And the man's life was divided into the four ashrams as we have discussed. Ashrams like Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprasth and Sannyas. Brahmacharya ashram lasted up to the age of 25. During this period, the pupil were expected to acquire knowledge in the Gurukul and observe strict discipline. During the period of Grihasthashram, man was supposed to marry and raise a family. The third stage of Vanprasth ashram is lasted from the age 50 to 75 years. During this period, man was expected to retire from the worldly life and acquire the spiritual and philosophical knowledge. The last stage lasted from the age 75 to 100 years was the sannyas ashram. This was period of renunciation. Man had leave everything forever and go to the meditation in order to attain moksha or salvation. In this video we will discuss till here. In next video we will discuss the economic social life of the later Vedic period. Until that you will have to reread this part, learn the basic term, related question answer and kindly follow the snap homework.